I'm Simon Johnson, and welcome to my Freshworks masterclass on the relationship between happiness and sales performance. So my role at Freshworks is General Manager for the UK and Ireland region. I'm responsible for a team of around 25 sales guys, and it's my job to help pull all of that together and deliver growth to the organisation. Within sales, you get instant results, and I really like working with prospective customers and then seeing the results prosper over time. I also love working in sales because it touches most parts of an organisation, but also we're seen as being on the front line. Therefore, we work very closely with product managers, with marketing, with project managers, all the way up to senior management. Finally, I really like building teams. The size of a team or building a team has a direct correlation to the success that you're having. I really like to see who I can bring into the organisation and help us grow revenue over time. To create this kind of high-performing culture, the teams need to bounce off each other, and they won't bounce off each other if you don't have a happy, engaged team. I'm also a qualified FA football coach, and I really enjoy the balance between sports performance and business performance. Even with my under-10 football team, if they're not happy and engaged, they're not going to play well. And it's really obvious on the sidelines that if one of the guys is unhappy or something's happened during the game, then that energy level drops. They don't bounce off each other, and actually the whole performance of the team suffers. If we can't manage to keep the guys engaged and happy on the sales floor, then the performance will drop. A good idea here is just to share lunch with your team. You'll very, very quickly get a pulse of whether or not the guys are happy. Some advice for creating a high-performing sales team. Number 1, set clear expectations. Number 2, provide regular feedback. And number 3, allow the team to take responsibility for their actions. By doing this, hopefully you'll be able to get constant wins and the team will be able to bounce off each other. If we think about happiness as being content with everything, then we can assume that motivation is actually a willingness to improve. Therefore, as a sales leader, you need to get the balance between how things are now and how you want things to be down the line. So some key advice here is to make sure that the goals are achievable and that you've got agreement as to how you're going to create those goals with the sales team. One thing that we do regularly at Freshworks is set OKRs, so objectives with key results. Now this allows us to set goals for each one of our team members, but also regularly feedback how we're actually getting on with achieving those goals. What I've found is that actually this allows us to focus on what's important, but also to constantly challenge the team to improve. So some of the ways that we try to recognize happiness and performance is through our team meetings, for example. So we have a weekly UK all hands meeting where we specifically call out performance. We also have a monthly European all hands where again we have a particular set of culture awards, of which one of these is recognizing our colleagues. And we try to recognize our colleagues in many different ways. One of them is through events, but we also have a workplace. So an area that we can go and particularly call out great performance of our colleagues. We also have a dedicated Slack channel purely for call outs of our colleagues. So I think this helps drive happiness within our organisation. But there are certain other things that we've been trying to do. One of these is regular pulse checks across the organisation, just a short survey to understand and to get regular feedback. Another one is team lunches. So we try and have a lunchtime roulette where we switch around who we have lunch with. So again, we can get different perspectives on how people are feeling about Freshworks. And the third area is regular one-to-ones across our entire team. And this is something we take really seriously. So weekly one-to-ones to really get feedback on exactly what's happening across the organisation. This becomes especially important as we grow and scale. And the last point is that you have to try and make happiness part of your sales strategy. Some good advice here is that each year you should at least have a sales kickoff where you try and get everybody together to have fun, but also to learn and engage with the rest of the organisation. This is particularly apparent for Freshworks as we now have 5 separate offices across Europe. At the start of the year, we had a brilliant kickoff in Berlin where everybody engaged, everybody had fun, and ultimately we now know what the strategy is for 2020. Well, the two of them naturally go hand in hand, but actually I'm a firm believer that happiness comes first. So the first thing we do is we focus on the right culture within the organisation. Now, if we can create that right culture, then we think that we'll get the right performance. Now, we try and focus heavily on our sales culture or our culture within the organisation, and that starts right at the very top with our CEO. We have a monthly all hands, and every all hands, Girish will talk openly about our cultures and recognise particular performance. We then put it on LinkedIn and other social media forums. We put it on our workplace internal forums so that everybody in the organisation can see and recognise that performance. As a sales leader, you should always be looking at ways of rewarding great performance to drive the happiness that you strive for. A good example I can give is actually a member of my team who'd performed very well over a number of months, and as a thank you, I actually bought him a surprise first-class lounge at Heathrow because I knew he was going on holiday with his girlfriend. Hopefully, it created that moment of wow and kept him happy. Well, I think first and foremost, you have to think about creating the right team. Firstly, you need a diverse team that can bounce off each other. Secondly, you need to create clear guidelines for that team to operate and clear expectations of how you want that performance to be. And then thirdly, you have to have regular feedback across the whole of the team. As a sales leader, you should always be trying to keep your team motivated to step up to the next level and the next level. I'm constantly looking for different ways that I can try and improve my team, even across Freshworks and outside of Freshworks. I can often see new teams in Freshworks that have been created that are doing different things, that are doing really cool things that I can learn from. Particularly, we have teams across Europe that are now doing things in a very different way to how I've ever thought of doing things. Another good piece of advice for an aspiring sales leader is to make sure that you're connected with your senior sales leaders. A good example here is if you see some good performance within your team, then ask one of your senior peers to deliver some feedback and recognition to that sales team member. Actually, what you'll find is that really encourages them because they've seen that what they're doing is impacting the organisation.